ex-boyfriend always drove faster when he was angry. This time, he locked the doors. "Slow down," I shouted, grabbing the handle. My boyfriend Markel didn't look at me. His hands were tight on the wheel. The speed climbed fast, like the car was answering his mood. 60, then more. This was how our fights always went. Not silence, not apologies, motion, speed. He said driving helped him calm down. I said it made everything worse. He said I was dramatic. Tonight, he had insisted on driving. He said he wanted to prove something. He said he was fine. He said he'd get me home safe. The road narrowed, trees crowded in. My hand pulled the door handle again. Locked. Why had he locked the doors? It wasn't the first time he insisted on driving, even though he was way too drunk. But that was new. Was it some empty scare tactic, or was he actually trying to cull me this time? "Markel," I said, "unlock it." He smiled without humor and pressed the gas. We had been fighting before we even left the bar. About his drinking, about the bottles I kept finding in places he swore he never put them, about the job he lost last month and blamed on his boss, then on me. I told him he'd had too much. He told me I embarrassed him in front of his friends. He grabbed the keys before I could stop him. The car surged ahead. The engine whined. Wind screamed through the cracks in the windows. "You always do this," I yelled. "You speed when you're mad." He laughed, sharp and loud. "Then stop making me mad." The road bent hard to the right. The tires squealed. My body slammed into the door. We'd been together almost 2 years. Long enough for patterns to settle in. Long enough for fear to feel normal. When he drank, he got loud. When he got loud, he drove. When he drove, he stopped listening. Streetlights disappeared. There were no houses now. Just trees and dark and the thin ribbon of road ahead. I reached for my phone. He slapped it out of my hand without looking. It skidded under the seat. "No," he said. "You don't get to call anyone." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I told him to pull over. I told him I was scared. Every word made him go faster. The guardrails ended without warning. I saw the edge and felt my stomach drop. The dark on the other side looked endless. "Markel," I cried, "please." He shouted back that I was always threatening to leave, that I acted like I was better than him, that if I walked away, he'd have nothing left. The car swerved. Gravel sprayed. My seatbelt cut into my shoulder. I thought about jumping. I thought about opening the door and letting the road tear me away from him, but we were going too fast. I didn't know what he wanted from me anymore. I didn't know how far he would push this, and I needed to know before it was too late. Another curve came too fast. The car fishtailed just a little, but enough to make my breath catch. "Watch the road," I screamed. "I am," he yelled back, but his eyes looked glassy now. Not angry. Something else. The engine roared as he pressed harder on the gas, like speed could fix whatever he was feeling. The road climbed into the hills. The air felt thinner, sharper. I smelled alcohol, sweet and sour and heavy. "You said you were fine," I said. "I am fine," he snapped, but his voice cracked. The car lurched again. My hands were numb from gripping the seat. I could hear my pulse in my ears. A sign flashed past too fast to read. Another bend loomed ahead. My thoughts raced. If we crashed, no one would find us. If we went over, that would be it. I pictured my mother getting a call. I pictured my name on a report. The car slid sideways. Markel screamed, not angry, not mocking, pure panic. "I can't slow it down," he yelled. "I can't feel my foot." I turned and stared at him. His hands were shaking so hard the wheel rattled. Sweat streaked his face. His eyes weren't focused on the road at all. "You're drunk," I said. "I know," he sobbed. "I know." The engine screamed louder. The road curved again. The dark drop opened wide beside us. Headlights caught a sign just before we passed it. No guardrail. Sharp curves next 5 miles. Everything fell into place at once. This wasn't a scare. This wasn't a punishment. This was a man who should never have been driving, trapped by his own body, spiraling out of control. The promise he made by offering to drive wasn't safety. It was control. It was keeping me in the seat when I was ready to leave. Then, the front tire blew. The car slammed into the dirt bank and stopped inches from the edge. The airbag exploded. Smoke filled the cabin. I crawled out and ran into the road screaming until someone stopped. The police came. They tested him the moment they smelled the alcohol on him. Not only did he fail every test, but apparently he'd been driving with a suspended license for months.